I took a 200,000 job for total isolation. Then I found the list of rules for my roommate. The first thing I did when I got back to civilization was smash every mirror in my apartment. I used a hammer from the toolkit I'd never opened. The sound was a kind of music, a sharp, glittering symphony of release. Then I took down the pictures in their glass frames, the polished steel kettle, anything that could throw back a version of my own face. My landlord is going to be pissed. I don't care. It's better than seeing that smile again. I guess I should start at the beginning. Before the tower. 6 months ago, my life was a smoking crater. I was an archivist, a good one, respected. Then I made a mistake. A single, catastrophic error in judgment, authenticating a document that ruined a family, a reputation, and my entire career. I wasn't just fired, I was erased. The shame was a physical thing, a sickness in my gut. I needed to disappear. The ad was buried deep on a job board for high-risk, high-reward contracts. A fire watcher position. 6 months. Total isolation. A payout that could buy me a new name and a new life on a different continent. The contract was sparse, cold. It mentioned the stocked pantry, the bi-monthly supply drops via helicopter, and a clause about non-disclosure of observed phenomena. I signed it so fast the ink smeared. What phenomena could be worse than my own memories? The helicopter ride was my funeral procession. The pilot, a man with a face like worn leather, didn't speak a word. He just flew. Below us, the world became a green, unforgiving blanket of trees. Then I saw it. Watchers Peak. A steel needle sticking straight out of the mountain's heart, scraping the belly of the clouds. It looked less like a building and more like a warning. The inside was a circle of cold steel and glass. A cot, a desk, a radio that hissed static, and a small, secure food pantry. The pilot dumped my duffel bag on the floor, gave me a look that wasn't pity, but something closer to finality, and left. The chopper blades beat the air into a frantic retreat, and then silence. A profound, crushing silence I'd craved for months. The previous watcher had left things. A half-finished book on migratory birds, a single worn chess piece, a black king sitting in the middle of the floor, and a list. It wasn't on a piece of paper. It was scratched into the metal underside of the cot's frame, where a man would have to lie on his back and stare up to read it, like a prayer for the damned. The litany of Watchers Peak 1. Secure the hatch and all viewport shutters by 23:59. Not a second later. 2. Voices will carry on the wind. They will beg. Let them. 3. If the radio plays a lullaby, kill the generator. Count to 300 in the dark. Do not breathe loudly. 4. Your reflection is a liar. Do not trust the man in the glass. 5. The pantry is stocked for you. The red cans are the offering. Do not confuse the two. 6. If you smell cinnamon and burnt wires, go still. It is listening for your heart. I ran my fingers over the gouged metal. A joke, I thought. Some poor bastard's slow descent into madness. I even laughed. For the first month, the silence was my sanctuary. I watched the endless sea of trees. A raven with a milky white blind eye started visiting. I called him Morfran. He'd land on the railing every afternoon, a silent, one-eyed judge. The solitude was working. The city, my old life, it was all fading into a dull, painless scar. I was healing. Then I got careless. I'd been tracking a column of smoke on the horizon and lost track of time. The clock on the wall read W03. My stomach dropped. I scrambled to the main hatch, spun the wheel lock until my knuckles were white. Then I went to the viewport shutters. I slammed them shut, one by one. But on the last one, I hesitated. A flicker of movement at the tree line. I leaned in, squinting. It wasn't an animal. It was a committee. A thing made of too many parts. It had the vague shape of a man. If a man were assembled by a blind child from broken parts. An arm bent backwards at the elbow. A leg that ended in something like a hand. It moved with the stuttering, unnatural grace of old stop-motion animation. It turned its head, a lumpy sphere of flesh that held no features, and I felt its attention land on me like a physical weight. I fucking fell back from the window, slamming the shutter down so hard the whole tower shuddered. The joke was over. A week later, the voices started. A woman at first, sobbing my name. Zev, oh God, Zev, please help me, I'm so cold. It sounded like my mother. My hand went to the radio dial, my fingers trembling. Rule 2. Voices will carry on the wind. I backed away from the console, crammed my fists in my ears, and hummed until my throat was raw. The begging went on for an hour, then it changed. It deepened into a guttural, pleased chuckle that scraped right against the tower's metal skin. It knew I was in here. It knew I had listened. The nights became a siege. I followed the litany like scripture. At 23:55, I was a whirlwind of activity, checking locks, sealing shutters, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. Then came the lullaby. It was mid-afternoon. I was making coffee when the dead radio crackled to life. It wasn't static, it was music. A soft, tinny recording of a child humming, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Every hair on my body stood on end. My eyes shot to the main generator switch on the far wall. Rule 3. Kill the generator. Count to 300. The tower lights flickered in time with the haunting little tune. I lunged for the breaker, heaving the heavy switch down with all my weight. Plunged into darkness, the lullaby cut out. Silence. 1, 2, 3. I counted in my head, my breath held tight in my chest. Around the count of 60, I heard it. A soft, wet scraping sound, circling the tower, right at the level of the observation deck. Slither, drag, scrape. It was slow, methodical, like it was tasting the glass. I squeezed my eyes shut and prayed to a God I hadn't spoken to in 20 years. The 300 seconds felt like a lifetime. When I finally threw the breaker back on, the sound was gone. The first supply drop was a new kind of terror. The chopper came in fast, dropped a crate from 20 feet up, and peeled off without so much as a wobble. Inside the crate, under the standard blue-labeled tins of beans and stew, was something else. A single can, painted a violent arterial red, and tucked under it a small, handwritten note. For the guest. My blood went cold. This wasn't just my predecessor's madness. The company knew. They were a part of this. That night, with trembling hands, I unlatched the main hatch just enough to slide the red can outside. I locked it and didn't sleep a wink. In the morning, it was gone. But it was Rule 4 that truly broke me. It was a stupid mistake. I was washing my face in a small metal bowl of water. I glanced up at my own reflection in the dark viewport glass, and I saw him. The man in the glass. It was me, but it wasn't. The Zev in the reflection was smiling. It was a wide, predatory grin my facial muscles have never known how to make. His eyes held a deep, ancient malice. I looked away so fast I got whiplash. But it was too late. I'd made eye contact. The reflection's smile widened, and he raised a hand, pressing his palm flat against the glass from his side. From the inside. After that, the tower wasn't a sanctuary anymore. It was a cage I was sharing. I stopped looking at any surface that could cast a reflection. I walked with my eyes on the floor. Then came the smell. Cinnamon and burnt wires, acrid and sweet. I was reading when it hit me, a wave of scent so thick it was like walking into a wall. Rule 6. Go still. It is listening for your heart. I froze mid-page. My heart was a thunderclap in the sudden silence. I didn't breathe. I focused on a loose thread on my jeans. The smell intensified, swirling around me, and I felt the pressure against the outside of the tower, a deep hum that vibrated through the steel floor. A minute passed. An hour, I don't know. Then, as suddenly as it came, the smell vanished. The pressure was gone. It had measured me, and for now, it had moved on. The final day of my contract arrived. 6 months. I'd survived. I sat by the window, watching the horizon, praying. When I heard the distant thump, thump, thump of rotor blades, I almost cried. The helicopter landed. A man in a company uniform got out. He smiled, waved. His voice boomed over a loudspeaker. Zev Kowalski, your contract is up. Time to go home. Relief, pure and absolute, washed over me. I ran to the hatch, my hand on the wheel. I was saved. But as I started to turn it, my eyes caught on something I'd never noticed before. Scratched into the steel of the hatch itself, almost invisible unless the light hit it just right, was a final rule. 7. They will wear familiar faces and now your name. My hand fell away from the wheel. I backed away. Zev, come on, son, open up, the voice called, still warm, still friendly. I stayed silent, a beat of silence. Then the voice changed. It stretched, thinning into a high-pitched metallic shriek. Openin' the door, Zev. A deafening boom slammed against the hatch, and the whole tower groaned. It wasn't banging. It was trying to peel the steel open like a can. I knew the locks wouldn't hold. I grabbed my pack and the emergency rope I'd found. I smashed the viewport on the opposite side of the tower, the glass exploding outwards. As the main hatch began to buckle and tear, I rappelled down into the biting wind, my hands raw, my mind screaming. I hit the ground and ran. I didn't look back until I reached the tree line. The tower was still standing, but it was wrong. The steel was flowing, warping, twisting upwards into a shape that defied geometry, a pulsating, silent monument to something awful. A park ranger found me 2 days later, delirious and babbling about a litany. I have an apartment now, a small, dark place. But I'm not free. It wasn't in the tower. The tower was just its anchor. It followed me. My paranoia is a part of my body now. I only eat food from blue cans. I avoid people, conversations. Any connection is a risk. And the reflections, God, the reflections, they're the worst. Sometimes in the dark screen of my laptop or a puddle on the street, I catch a glimpse of him, the other me, the one with the terrible smile. He's always watching, waiting. I'm writing this all down because I have to, because I just looked up from my keyboard, and for a split second, I saw him in the black mirror of my monitor. He was typing, too, and he was smiling.